Good morning. My name is Georgette Greenlee. I am the Secretary of the Board for the Chicago Transit Authority, and we are going to have our Finance, Audit, and Budget Committee meeting. Today is September 22nd. Director Jakes.
Good morning. I would like to call to order the September 22nd, 2023 meeting of the
Good morning. My
Committee
name is
on
Georgette
Finance, Audit,
Greenlee.
and
I am the
Budget.
Secretary of the
Georgette,
Board for
would
the
you please
Chicago.
call the roll?
Director Miller.
Here.
Chairman Barclay.
Here.
Director Jakes.
Here.
Director Ortiz.
Here.
Director Ja.
Here.
Director Jakes, you do have a quorum. You can proceed to agenda item number 2.
Thank you. Our first order of business is the approval of the committee minutes of August 29th, 2023. May I have a motion to approve?
Move.
Second.
It's been properly Director Miller and seconded by Director Ortiz. We'll call the roll. Director Ja.
Yes.
Director Ortiz.
Yes.
Director Jakes.
Yes.
Director Barclay.
Yes.
Director Miller.
Yes.
The motion passes. You may proceed to agenda item number 3.
Our next order of business is the finance report. Michelle Curran. Good morning, Michelle.
Good morning. Thank you. Good morning. I'm Michelle Curran, Deputy CFO and Comptroller. This morning, I'll review the financial results for July and year-to-date. For the month of July, fare and pass revenues were positive $800,000 to budget. The reduced fare subsidy is flat to budget, and non-fare box revenues are also flat. Overall, revenues are $800,000 favorable to budget. On a year-to-date basis, fare and pass revenues are up $8.3 million compared to budget and up $23.7 million compared to 2022. The reduced fare subsidy is flat to budget, and non-fare box revenues are up $4 million compared to budget. Overall, year-to-date revenues are $12.3 million favorable to the budget and up $25.7 million compared to 2022. On the expense side, for July, labor is favorable $5.5 million compared to budget. Materials $84,000 favorable. Fuel and power are favorable $1.3 million and $450,000 respectively for the month. Provision for injuries and damages is flat to budget. Security services is $2.1 million unfavorable to budget due to increased security measures and timing of invoices. And other expenses are favorable to budget by $4.1 million. Overall, July expenses are positive to budget by $9.3 million. Coupled with revenues, actuals are favorable $10.1 million to budget. On a year-to-date basis, labor is favorable $48.3 million compared to budget. Materials down $300,000 due to timing of expenses and inflation. Fuels positive $8.1 million and power is positive $1.7 million to budget. Provision for injuries and damages is flat. Security services are unfavorable $6 million to budget. Again, due to increased security measures and timing of invoices, and other expenses are favorable $15.2 million. Overall, year-to-date expenses through July are positive to budget by $67 million. Revenues coupled with expenses are positive $79.3 million to budget. With regard to our public funding revenues, sales tax collections for May were $1.5 million favorable to budget. The August collection for public transportation funds, or PTF, was $1.7 million favorable to budget. The real estate transfer tax, or RET, revenues for July was unfavorable $3.7 million to budget due to a slow real estate market fueled by higher interest rates. And PTF on RET was $500,000 unfavorable to budget. Overall, for the month, public funding revenues were unfavorable $1 million compared to budget. 2023 year-to-date collections are $800,000 unfavorable to budget due to the depressed real estate market, which is offset some by the favorable sales tax collections. The federal emergency relief funding for the month will draw $34.4 million of CRISA, ARP formula, and ARP discretionary funds. Overall, we've drawn just over 50% of our federal relief funding. And finally, on the commodities side, we've locked in pricing on 75% of our fuel for 2023, 2024, and 2025, And we've started locking in pricing for 2026 at 10%. We'll continue to look for opportunities to lock in pricing for additional fuel levels. And we've also locked in pricing through 2024 for power and 2026 for natural gas. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Michelle, the unfavorable on security. Can you talk more about that? And how will that look going into the future? So will you and Jeremy make the adjustment for the budget for next year?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, we're working on the 2024 budget now, and we would expect to see a higher level of security costs carrying through the rest of this year and into 2024. As we've increased our security measures with the police department, Action Canine Security, so we would expect to see these higher security costs to continue through.
Okay. And security with the police. So I know CTA has its police officers. So I can understand, are we also paying into CPD?
So we have an intergovernmental agreement with the city of Chicago for up to $30 million a year for police services, in addition to the mass transit police services that the city provides.
Okay, and that's included in the budget?
Yes.
Director Jake,
Yes.
to clarify a little bit more, the intergovernmental agreement that Michelle is referring to is a voluntary special employment program in which police officers volunteer in their time to supplement our mass transit unit police officers, which are dedicated to CTA. So it's a way to supplement the regular CPD officers who work on our system by basically paying for off-duty officers to do additional work on CTA system.
Okay,
And
and
they recall that we recently renewed that agreement, I believe,
Right.
earlier this year or
I believe-
late last year,
About a year ago, yeah.
about a year ago, to really increase the wages that we pay to induce more of the off-duty police officers to take advantage of this opportunity because it's volunteer. And I can tell you that the level of participation in the program has increased dramatically as a result of that. So we're paying more money, as you heard, for security services, but we're also getting more police support. And I think, as we discussed before, the visibility of uniformed police officers is a key component of addressing the safety concerns of our customers.
okay. All right. Good. Thank you.
Yeah.
No further questions from me, Georgia.
Director Shaw, any questions?
No questions. Thank you.
Director Ortiz?
No, thank you.
Chairman Barclay?
No question.
Director Miller? There are no further questions. Director Jakes, you may proceed to agenda item number 4.
Our next order of business is an ordinance authorizing a co-promotional agreement with Pace Suburban Bus. Michelle?
Good morning. I'm Michelle Curran, Deputy CFO and Comptroller. Today, I present for your consideration a co-promotional advertising agreement with Pace Suburban Bus. The total value provide Pace with interior car cards on the Blue Line up to this amount in value. As this is unsold advertising space that CTA is providing, and as printing costs are the responsibility of Pace, there is no cost to CTA to enter into this co-promotional agreement. Pace will provide CTA advertising space of the same value on its buses. The partnership will enable Pace to promote its new Pace Connect service, Rosemont Blue Line stand, and a designated employment zone around O'Hare Airport. The agreement also gives CTA exposure to a larger regional audience through advertising space on Pace buses. This concludes my remarks, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
I have no questions.
Director Shaw?
No questions.
Director Ortiz?
None.
Chairman Barclay?
No question.
Director Miller?
No question.
There are no further questions. Director Jakes, you may proceed to agenda item number 5.
Well, before we do that, may I now have leave to place this item on the omnibus for board approval?
So moved.
Absolutely.
Second.
It's been properly moved by Director Miller and seconded by Director Ortiz. We'll take the roll call vote. Director Shaw? Director Ortiz?
Yes.
Director Jakes?
Yes.
Chairman Barclay?
Yes.
Director Miller?
Yes.
The motion passes. Now we may proceed to agenda item number 5.
Thank you. We're going to review an ordinance authorizing an amendment to the intergovernmental agreement with the Regional Transportation Authority for venture cards for RTA special fare programs. Michelle?
Thank you. Good morning again, Michelle Curran, Deputy CFO and Comptroller. Today, for your consideration, I present a proposal for an amendment to the intergovernmental agreement with the RTA. On May 9th, 2018, the Chicago Transit Board approved an ordinance that extended the IGA between CTA and RTA for the purpose of Venture cards to be utilized by RTA for its special fares program. The state of Illinois passed legislation that goes into effect on January 1st, 2024, which creates a new domestic violence and sexual assault regional transit authority public transportation assistance program. This program requires the RTA to issue monetarily preloaded Venture cards to the network advocating against domestic violence for survivor and victim use of victims' use of public transportation. This legislation stipulates that RTA is to provide up to 25,000 Venture cards preloaded with $20 value to the network for distribution to program participants. RTA will pay CTA for the value loaded onto each Venture card, plus the associated Venture card costs charged by Cubic. The amended IGA includes the fair media requirements for this program. Maximum reimbursement from CTA to RTA from RTA to CTA is up to $530,750, which is the cost of the $20 fair value loaded onto each Venture card, plus the current per card cost of the Venture cards. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
And the last time this occurred was in 20.
Well, this is to include this new program.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's a great program there. I have no questions.
Okay, the new program is actually something that was passed by the Illinois legislature in the last session, asking us to initiate a program, particularly for this particular group of individuals who are facing additional challenges. And this is basically our part of the process of putting that program into place in response to that legislation.
And it's good timing because October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So that's hopefully that information gets out there. So no, but I have no questions. So this is great.
Director Ja,
Questions, thank you.
Director Ortiz,
Thank you.
Chairman Barclay,
No question.
Director Miller.
No question.
There are no further questions, Director Jakes.
May I now have leave to place this item on the omnibus for board approval?
So move.
Second.
It's been moved by Director Miller and seconded by Director Ortiz. We'll take the roll call vote. Director Ja,
Yes.
Director Ortiz,
Yes.
Director Jakes,
Yes.
Chairman Barclay,
Yes.
Director Miller,
Yes.
Director Jakes, the motion passes. We may now move to agenda item number 6.
Moving to agenda item number 6, but I see Michelle went back to her seat. We're going to review an ordinance authorizing an intergovernmental agreement with PACE for free rides for riders. Oh, that's Molly Poppy. Affected by the Forest Park Branch Rebuild Project. Molly Poppy.
Thank you, Director. Good morning, Molly Poppy, Chief Innovation Officer for CTA. This particular intergovernmental agreement is with Pace Suburban Bus. It is to subsidize rides that they will be offering for free and are offering for free as part of the Forest Park Branch Rebuild Project. When we started the project, we wanted to ensure that there was good access to alternative CTA service. And so one of the programs that we came up with was working with PACE. PACE is providing free service on a host of routes between the blue, green, and pink line to connect people who are impacted on the Congress branch to the green and pink line. So what we have seen to date is about 5,000 weekly riders have taken PACE to connect to the green or pink line as part of this subsidy. So the overall anticipated expense for this is about $150,000. So with that, I can take any questions.
No, I have no questions, Molly.
Director Ja,
No questions, thank you.
Director Ortiz,
Thank you.
Chairman Barclay,
No question.
Director Miller,
No question.
Director Jakes, there are no further questions.
Thanks.
Yes.
Before you move on, board has just acted on a series of 3 ordinances that not coincidentally are dealing with ways in which CTA is cooperating with our sister service agencies and providing services to the citizens of the city of Chicago and the surrounding suburbs. I wanted to take a moment to highlight that because there's been a lot of discussion around the fact that there's a lack of coordination and cooperation that occurs between the service boards. It's one of the reasons for a rethinking of the way in which transit operates in this region. One of the points which I'll be clarifying a little bit more during my remarks is that in many cases, the inability to coordinate and cooperate is not a faction of lack of desire or intent. Many times it's a function of funding, and financial support. One of the benefits of being in a position that we're in today, particularly as it relates to our emergency relief money, is that it's allowed us to pursue a number of strategies that have been in coordination with and cooperation with our sister agencies that we never were able to do before. A lot of that is being led by Molly Poppy and her group as we continue to work through how we continue to increase our ridership and provide better, higher quality service to our customers. So I just want to take a moment to acknowledge that you just acted on 3 of the activities that are evidence of that. And that's really important to highlight that we are doing this and we continue to do this and working in cooperation with both Metro, PACE, and RTA to improve the service that we're providing to the customers that utilize our system.
President Carter, will this, and one that's great information, will this information get out to the public?
Well, I'm sitting here right now in a public meeting that's being streamed throughout the entire, area, and my communications partner, who is in the back of the room here, will make sure that we're making the media aware of what we did today and amplifying that message.
Good.
I'm also, not surprisingly, amplifying that message directly in my participation at the CMAP board meetings, and I'll give you some more updates on that during my president's report.
Good. Did we approve it being on omnibus? We did not? Okay. So may I now have leave to place this on omnibus for board approval?
So move.
Second.
It's been moved by Director Miller and seconded by Director Ortiz that this ordinance be placed on the omnibus. We will take the roll call vote. Director Ja?
Yes.
Director Ortiz?
Yes.
Director Jakes?
Yes.
Chairman Barclay?
Yes.
Director Miller?
Yes.
The motion passes. Director Jakes, you may proceed to agenda item number 7.
Item 7 is review of an ordinance authorizing payment of relocation expenses arising from the acquisitions of property located at 35th West 115th Street, Chicago, Red Line Extension Project. Bill Mooney.
Morning, Bill Mooney, your Chief Infrastructure Officer. Staff recommends approval of an ordinance approving the payment of additional relocation expenses related to property located at 35 West 115th Street in Chicago, which was acquired in support of the Red Line Extension Project. In October of 2022, the board designated multiple properties for acquisition and authorized negotiations for the purchase of the parcels related to the Red Line Extension Project. CTA acquired the parcel located at 35 West 115th Street and pursuant to the Uniform Relocation Act has confirmed relocation expenses owed to Mims Donald, owner and operator of the Donald's Auto Repair, which was located at the property in an amount of $101,618. Pursuant to the ordinance number 0221-118, the Chief Infrastructure Officer, with the approval of the General Counsel, has been authorized to pay relocation expenses up to $100,000 to any owner or tenant of a designated parcel without prior board approval. But board approval is required for the payment of the additional $1,618 in required relocation expenses. I'll be happy to take any questions on this item.
What happened that it wasn't all built in? Yeah, so you have the initial 101,000, I believe, and now the additional 116.
So the initial enabling ordinance gave the Chief Infrastructure Officer, with the approval of the General Counsel, to approve relocation benefits up to a limit of $100,000. We envision that there'll be scenarios that we go above $100,000, but the board did not give us authority to pay that at one fold. In any scenario time we have to go above $100,000, we have to get additional authority from the board for the balance of that payment.
Sure. Good. Thank you, Bill.
Well, can you talk a little bit about the process and how this has gone over in the community there?
Sure. So when we brought the initial enabling ordinance to board in October 22, we did a public presentation at the time talking a little bit about our presence in the community that dates back to 2016. When we first started our vision studies and our planning process around the Red Line Extension Project, we identified potential parcels impacted by any of the potential alignments. We worked with the community residents and owners, businesses and other affected parcels to talk about them, about the upcoming concept of the project, how it may impact them, where their rights would be. As we refine the preferred alignment, we then narrowed that list down to the truly impacted parcels, the ones that are really in engagement here. And we've had a dedicated relocation team associated with the Red Line Extension project with a lead on property acquisitions in the community, working directly with the residents since 2018. The lead of that team is really an astonishing person. She actually did most of the real estate acquisitions for the O'Hare modernization project and a couple other major kind of real estate takings in the region. She can tell you every person in the family's name, the dog's name, the goldfish's name. I mean, she is embedded in this community as possibly be there and has really brokered a lot of trust and relationship. So overall, I would say that the great majority of the community is very excited about the prospect of the project as a whole and supportive of the acquisitions and what's going on. We see a path forward here. We are over 50% acquired at this point, which is a pretty significant milestone for us as we just started this a year ago. And it is a very long, large undertaking with almost 200 parcels in play on various entities, religious institutions, commercial railroads and things like that, which are very complex takings in and of themselves. So I would say we've put forward a ton of effort to be able to be available to the community. We actually have a presence at our community office space that which was the first parcel we acquired, where we actually do most of the closings on site there. So we are actually in the footprint offering our services with our real estate consultants on site so that people in the community, as they do have questions, can come in person and engage. We have found that a lot of the members of the community prefer that touch. That face-to-face contact, and as we all are aware, a lot of generational wealth is through real estate, right? And so being able to build that comfort that this is the right decision and that they'll be treated fairly is really important in person. And so I think we've seen a lot of benefit from that as well.
Director Shaw, any questions? Director Ortiz,
Thank you.
Chairman Barclay,
Nothing, Barney.
Director Miller. There are no further questions. Director Jakes.
May I now have leave to place this on the omnibus for board approval?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved by Director Miller and seconded by Director Ortiz. We'll take the roll call vote. Director Shaw. Director Ortiz.
Yes.
Director Jakes.
Yes.
Chairman Barclay.
Yes.
Director Miller.
Yes.
Director Jakes, the motion passes. You may now move to agenda item number 8.
In review of an ordinance authorizing an intergovernmental agreement with the city of Chicago for the acquisition of various parcels of property for the Red Line Extension project. Bill.
Good morning again. Bill Mooney, your Chief Infrastructure Officer. Once again, staff recommends approval of an ordinance authorizing an intergovernmental agreement with the city of Chicago for the acquisition of various parcels of property for the Red Line Extension project. The CTA has identified parcels of the property necessary for the RLE project, which are owned by the city of Chicago. The city has agreed to transfer the city parcels to the CTA for the project, and the parties wish to codify the terms of the conveyance of those parcels in an intergovernmental agreement. The IGA allows the city to convey the city parcels to the CTA for $1 per parcel and requires the CTA to indemnify the city from environmental claims and pay closing costs and back taxes for any parcels that may have those. I am happy to answer any questions on this item.
No questions, Bill.
I'm pleased to see the multiple RLE project matters on the agenda today, especially in light of the recent news of the FTA's grant award to the CTA and the FTA's approval to advance the project to the engineering stage. Of course, President Carter, I don't want to steal your thunder, but this is a historic milestone. I'm sure you'll report on that in your president's report. But I'm very pleased to see these significant steps of us moving forward towards the long-awaited promise and the goal of establishing transit in that area. This agreement is a great intergovernmental effort, and really thanks to the city of Chicago as well for its effort being a partner with us.
Any further questions? Director Shaw? Director Ortiz?
I just appreciate the intergovernmental agreements as well with the city and their partnership in this effort. Obviously, it's important. Those parcels are going to be critical to this work. So I also just want to highlight the partnership itself.
Director Miller?
Just build to what the chairman has said, long overdue. Thank you.
Director Jakes, there are no further questions.
May I now have leave to place this item on the omnibus for board approval?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved by Director Miller and seconded by Director Ortiz. We'll take the roll call vote. Director Shaw? Director Ortiz. Yes. Director Jakes.
Yes.
Chairman Barclay.
Yes.
Director Miller.
Yes.
Director Jakes, the motion passes. We may now move to agenda item number 9.
Agenda item number 9 is the review of an ordinance authorizing an amendment to the contract with Empower Retirement LLC for third-party administration for the authority's 401k and 457 plans. Tom McCollum.
Morning, Tom McCone, Chief Administrative Officer. We are recommending updating the provisions of our deferred compensation plans, our 401k and our 457 plans to allow participant loans. This will allow employees who participate in these programs to take out loans in accordance with IRS guidelines. The loans are made from our participants' own account with principal and interest paid directly back into their own account. Essentially, they are taking out a loan from themselves and paying themselves back the interest and the principal. This offers an affordable source to help employees access funding for homes, tuition, vehicles, and other significant expenses. We feel that this feature will enhance our benefits and improve employee retention. CTA's voluntary deferred compensation programs are fully funded by the participants. This has been reviewed and recommended by the CTA's Deferred Compensation Committee. Upon approval, the provisions would go into effect on January 1st.
That's pretty standard, so I have no questions.
Other questions, Director Ja? Director Ortiz?
I appreciate the thoughtfulness to our employee and our team.
Chairman Barclay?
Tom, have you received any feedback from any employees?
We have received, yes, this has been an option that employees have asked for in the past. It comes up frequently from employees asking how can they, access their funds without hurting their kind of retirement investments. This is something that we looked across the industry. We saw it was something that was offered at a number of other private and public employers. And I think employees are really going to be looking forward to this to be able to take advantage of this because I think there's a lot of things that they have to use the hardship process for if they do qualify for that today. And that's an onerous process. It also comes with significant penalties when you withdraw the funds. So this is going to be definitely an additional benefit. I expect it will be well used by employees.
Should be well received.
Yes.
Director Miller?
No question.
Director Jakes, there are no further questions.
Now I have leave to place this item on the omnibus for board approval.
So move.
Second. It's been moved by Director Miller, seconded by Director Ortiz. We'll take the roll call vote. Director Ja?
Yes.
Director Ortiz? Director Jakes?
Yes.
Chairman Barclay? Director Miller?
Yes.
The motion passes. Director Jakes, we may now proceed to agenda item number 10.
Our next order of business is the review of contracts number B1 through B5 infrastructure. I have no questions. Jen.
Are there any further questions? Director Ja?
No questions. Thank you.
Director Ortiz? Chairman Barclay?
No.
Director Miller?
No question.
Director Jakes, we may now proceed to contract G1.
Our next order of business is the review of contract number G1, contract award for technology. No questions.
Are there any other questions? Director Ja?
Questions.
Director Ortiz? Chairman Barclay?
No.
Director Miller?
No.
Director Jakes, there are no further questions.
Since there are no further questions on the contracts, may I have leave to place the 6 contracts on the omnibus?
So move.
Second. It's been moved by Director Miller and seconded by Director Ortiz to place the 6 contracts on the omnibus. We'll take the roll call vote. Director Ja?
Yes.
Director Ortiz? Yes. Chairman Barclay?
Yes.
Director Miller?
Yes.
The motion passes. Director Jakes, you may proceed to agenda item number 11.
And finally, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second. It's been moved by Director Miller, seconded by Director Ortiz. We'll take the roll call vote. Director Miller?
Yes.
Chairman Barclay?
Yes.
Director Jakes?
Yes.
Director Ortiz? Director Ja? Motion to adjourn passes. Good morning. My name is Georgette Greenlee. I'm Secretary of CTA's Transit Board, and we are ready to begin our regular meeting of the Transit Board for Friday, September 22nd, 2023. Chairman Barclay.
Good morning. I would like to call to order the meeting of the Chicago Transit Board for September 22nd, 2023. Georgette, please call the roll.
Director Miller.
Here.
Chairman Barclay.
Here.
Director Jakes.
Here.
Director Ortiz.
Here.
Director Ja.
Here.
Chairman Barclay, we do have a quorum.
Thank you. Our first order of business is public comment. Georgette.
Mr. Chairman, we have registered 8 public commenters this morning. And we have 3 who are here, 2 who are on the phone line to make their remarks by phone, and 3 that are written and that we will distribute to the board. The 3 that are written are from John Paul Jones, Thomas Malthouse, and Brandon McFadden. I will call the first public commenter who is present to speak. And that will be Sylvia Jones. Ms. Jones, thank you for coming today. I'd like to remind you that you have 3 minutes to speak. We ask that you not direct your comments to any individual in this room in particular, or to any matters of contract that are before the board on today.
First, giving honor to God, who's the head of my life.
Yes.
Good morning, CTA board, staff, and staff members. My name is Minister Sylvia Jones, board member with the Red Line Extension TIF Coalition. I originally participated with faith-based group Developing Communities Project and its Red Line Coalition. I remain committed alongside many far South Side stakeholders and the CTA President Carter project team in seeing built Red Line Extension. We agree with President Carter that completing the final environmental impact study and receiving a record of decision for the Red Line Extension project is a major step forward. The recent CTA board action to sign intergovernmental agreements with Cook County Sheriff, Chicago Department of Public Health, and to help stabilize Greyhound Inc. operations at the 95th Street Terminal adds value to service, delivery, cleanliness to the South Side. Today, we wish to encourage the CTA and its board to beef up operations to ensure equity. That today's ordinance relative to land acquisitions would be used to introduce a host of resolutions to direct staff and contractors to go beyond the norm to build wealth to families, while simultaneously protecting property owners from harms through inept real estate calculations. Furthermore, we encourage CTA to utilize all available federal and state grants to introduce added workforce solutions, climate resiliency, and other community benefits for Red Line Project. Just like the man in the Bible that sat by the pool for 38 years in John's 5th chapter, many are awaiting the opportunity to be propelled forward. Red Line District is a 50+ year wait. Let's move together as a team to bring hope and economic benefit to many through an array of partnership and resources, leveraging with area institutions and organizations. Thank you for this opportunity to speak and help propel the people forward. To God be the glory. Thank you. Have a blessed day and be well.
Thank you. Thank you. Our next public commenter is Morgan Mataram.
My name is Morgan Mataram, and I'm a transportation planner for Alder Laspada's Committee on Pedestrian and Traffic Safety Action. I'm unable to drive. Say I'm a captive. However, for the last 2 years, I and many others have become frustrated with the CTA. It's been 1 year since Meeting the Moment has come out, and the moment has not been met. Pre-COVID, the CTA would run 21 trains per hour in rush hour. Now we're down to 8 scheduled trains per hour, but realistically, it's maybe 6 or 7 We all remember when you could walk up to the train station in the morning and it would say 2 to 3 minutes between trains. That feels like a collective dream to the city now. As we shove ourselves onto packed trains or are humiliated, we let packed train after packed train pass as we're just trying to go home. Stagnating operator numbers are a sign that operators are unhappy with their current position. Recently, an article came out where a CTA operator highlights the need for more bathroom availability for bus drivers, something we've heard from many bus operators. And in the same article, CTA publicly refutes these asks. Imagine simply asking for a basic need like bathroom access and your employer publicly denying you that this is even an issue and promising that they will never look into fixing this problem for you. In my former position working on development in the 40th Ward office, when we were building transit-oriented development, we had community engagement around the process, and neighbors would come with opposition about the increase in parking and traffic. And we would reply to them that this is transit-oriented development. These folks will largely be using the CTA to get to work, to home, and this is going to be affordable housing for your community. All of these are good things. Our neighbors would rightly reply, I know this is meant to be TOD, but the bus only comes every 20 minutes on Western now. You really expect people to rely on that? In my current job, I'm working on pedestrian and cyclist infrastructure planning and policy, slowing streets down to make it safer, more comfortable for folks to live and travel sans car. I was recently speaking with a traffic engineer, and he said the only thing that will increase safety on the street is mode change, getting people out of cars and onto other modes of travel. The key piece of both the housing and transportation puzzle is a reliable and frequent transit system. Progress in housing and transportation planning is being held up by the refusal to admit there's a problem and by refusing to admit that this is a problem within the CTA president and board's control to fix. If the current president and board are not able to admit there's a problem and make innovative change, they need to be replaced. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next public commentator is Bill Morton.
Chair, board, president, staff, thank you for giving us the opportunity to speak publicly. I've been here many times before, and my focus is the ADA accessibility for the Red Line trains, specifically Morse and Jarvis. I've come today representing one of our constituents of the Rogers Park Chamber of Commerce, Eva Strobeck. She wrote a little story here. It'll be brief. Eva says, I lived in Rogers Park for over 20 years. My husband and I owned a condo on Farwell and Ashland. I don't drive. For over 10 years, when my late husband couldn't drive anymore because of a stroke, I had the option to take the Red Line to work at Malcolm X College. At first, with difficulty, I could get up the stairs, but soon with my balance problem, it became impossible. I didn't qualify for paratransit for some reason, so I was forced to hire a driver to get to work or take a lift, which was expensive on part-time tutor's salary. I now live out of the city, near my family in a senior community that makes accommodations for the fact that I have to use a walker. It would have made my life much easier if Morse had an elevator. Thank you for listening to my testimony, Eva Strobeck. And I'm going to redact where she's living at the current time. This is an issue. I believe I mentioned on my CAN TV show on Channel 21, Community Unity Now, that I believe that the squeaky wheel may get the oil. I know that you're listening. I know that I have your ears, and we really do need ADA accessibility by law on the Red Line Morse station and the Jarvis station. And I will continue to represent our community, and I will continue to speak on behalf of our community as president of the Rogers Park Chamber of Commerce. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Our next public commentator is Andrea Green, who is on the phone line.
Ms. Reed, please press *6 to unmute your line. Ms. Reed, I see you're unmuted, but we have no audio from you. Are you speaking?
Can we come back to her?
Sure. Our next public commentator is also on the phone line. Herb, should we go to our other commentator?
Yes, Katanya Arabi,
Yes.
please press *6 on your line to unmute.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, good morning. My name is Katanya Raby. I am an urban planner and I work in the very far south area of the city, doing a lot of planning initiatives. And I'm calling in this morning because I just want to share my excitement about the Red Line extension, and it's coming to the far south side. As a employee of Far South Community Development Corporation, I can say that we have been champions for the Red Line extension for many years and have been looking forward to it coming and also providing new opportunities for our residents. We've been involved in some of the strategic planning around this and been part of the process. And so seeing it finally coming to fruition is one of our great joys. And I'm personally very delighted to be part of it. We're also really excited to see that the request for proposals is going to be coming out soon. So we're looking forward to seeing local minority businesses taking part of that and being able to benefit from this amazing addition to their very own community. So as we move forward with this, we just encourage the CTA to continue to make sure that the community is prioritized and that we are continuing to be involved in every facet of this planning process and the development of the stations and the track lines and all of that moving forward. So we're really looking forward to continuing to be partners with CTA, and are excited that our city is going to have so many wonderful opportunities for residents of the very far south, the very furthest south community. So thank you for allowing me to speak today and share my excitement about the Red Line extension.
Thank you. Herb, is our other public commentator able to address the board?
We will attempt. So, Ms. Reed, please press *6 to unmute your line, and please make sure that you also have unmuted your phone in case you've muted the phone as well. *6 to unmute the line, please.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Great, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Sorry for the mix-up. I'm Andrea Reed, Executive Director for the Greater Roseland Chamber of Commerce. The Greater Roseland Chamber of Commerce strives to increase commerce in the Roseland community through networking, business development, mentoring, educational workshops, and more. We work to play a supportive role in providing the resources necessary to empower existing businesses as well as aspiring entrepreneurs to strengthen economic vitality within our business community. I'm calling today to express my support, happily calling to express my support for the Red Line Extension Program and to relay my excitement for the recent announcement regarding the $2 billion funding by the Federal Transit Authority. As a supporter of this project for many, many years, I am so pleased to see this day come. This funding is necessary to make the project a reality. And as this project moves into reality, I am especially pleased that CTA is hosting a workforce event at the Gately Park on Tuesday, October 10th, with workforce agencies and representatives of the building trade unions. This event will help introduce and educate members of our community on the jobs and careers that are available not only on the Red Line extension, but on other CTA projects now and well into the future. This is something that is near and dear to my heart, and time is of the essence to prepare the young men and women of our community for these opportunities. And I say that with a lot of empathy and strength that this has to be done. It cannot be overlooked. I want to congratulate the team for their hard work to this point, and I'm counting on all of you to continue. Thank you so very much for allowing me to speak today.
Thank you. Chairman Barclay, that ends our public commentators.
Thank you to all of our public commenters. We appreciate your comments and your time this morning. Our next item of business on the agenda is our president's report, which will be given by President Dorval Carter.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, good morning. Over the course of this past month, CTA has received a significant amount of very good news, and I'm very happy to discuss that with you today. As you're aware and have heard, on September 8th, Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson, Federal Transit Administrator Nuria Fernandez, members of the Illinois Congressional Delegation, several aldermen and other community leaders joined me at a press conference for the Federal Transit Administration's announcement that the Red Line Extension Project is in line to receive $1.973 billion in critical grant funding needed to build it. Funding is key to the success of this project, and I want to once again thank and acknowledge the Chicago City Council for its approval of the CTA Transit TIF, which will make available $959 million in local matching funds necessary for CTA to make this important investment. The FTA also announced that CTA may proceed with the engineering phase of the project, which includes further design and engineering and identifies the additional federal grant dollars that CTA can receive for the project once the engineering phase is completed and approved by FDA. It cannot be overstated that the FTA's commitment is the most critical step forward to date towards making RLE a reality. I want to again thank United States Senator Dick Durbin, Congressman Mike Quigley, Congresswoman Robin Kelly, who joined us at the press conference, as well as Senator Tammy Duckworth, who was unable to join us, but has been a staunch supporter of public transit in Chicago, for their continued support. I also want to acknowledge the great work being done by our RLE team, which is tasked in part to successfully move the project forward through the long and detailed federal New Starts process. Actually, I should be clear, they are now officially the award-winning RLE team. This month, the Illinois chapter of the American Planning Association announced that the RLE team has been awarded its 2023 Strategic Plan Award for its Red Line Extension Transit Supportive Development Plan, or TSDP. The award recognizes CTA's vision and plan for the transformational community impact related to the RLE project. As you know, RLE is, at its core, an equity-focused project, and it is a tremendously important capital investment for CTA. The TSDP fully fleshes out issues like economic development benefits, quality of life issues, and other areas, and includes recommendations that will serve as a guide to the City of Chicago as it considers future development for communities in and around the project footprint. I'm excited about the progress we are making to fulfill the unrealized promise that was made more than 50 years ago, that CTA rail service would one day be extended to the city's southern edge. I look forward to our continued work with the residents on the far south side to make that vision a reality. And once again, let me emphasize that with the commitment from the federal government, this project will happen. I'm also very pleased to see continued ridership growth on our system. Over the past 3 weeks, we have seen 8 days where we have surpassed 1 million rides system-wide. On Thursday, September 7th, we had the highest ridership of those 8 days. CTA customers took 1,039,000 bus and train rides, highest daily ridership level to date since before the pandemic. While special events, students returning to school, and other factors contributed towards these increases, I want to thank our customers for making these milestones possible. And I also want to publicly ask our customers to continue to take CTA. Public transit recovery from the pandemic will require, in part, continued increased ridership. To better serve our riders, we have continued to hire new bus operators and bus mechanics this year at a rate that has now exceeded our expectations going into 2023. Additionally, both bus and rail operator hiring is outpacing attrition year to date, and I'm very optimistic that that trend will continue. Just last week, we held another large-scale one-stop style job fair in support of our aggressive hiring and recruitment marketing campaign, with more to come before the year's end. Thus far in 2023, CTA has hosted 7 in-person job fairs with a cumulative attendance of over 2,700 interested applicants. On the rail side, while we have continued to have some challenges, we currently have 2 rail operator training cohorts underway, with one of them expected to be completed in October. We are excited that these employees will soon join our ranks as full-time rail operators, and we are committed to promoting and training as many rail operators as we can. We also continue to explore ways to accelerate the growth of our workforce, while obviously continue to maintain a safe public transit system. Our current hiring trends bode well for our agency and are the result of a lot of hard work by CTA staff across several departments, most notably my human resources, operations training, and workforce development groups, as well as other departments that provide logistical support, as well as volunteers. Evidence of their effort is reflected in the fact that we anticipated bringing on 700 new bus operators this year. CTA has already surpassed that mark and will continue to do so as we continue to seek existing vacancies. It also is emblematic of the fact that in the upcoming budget, I will be announcing restoring of service to allow us to take advantage of our increased workforce. From the very beginning, I've indicated that this was not something that was going to be reversed quickly. And I realize that it has taken a year or more to get us back to where we want to be. I can tell you that none of us are happy with the service that we're providing today. We know that we need to do more, and we know that we have to do more if we're going to get our ridership back. This isn't an issue of ignoring what is going on. It's an issue of trying to manage as best we can the challenges that were presented to us, not by any efforts or activities of anyone at CTA, but by an external pandemic that has ultimately impacted our workforce in ways that none of us could have imagined 3 years ago. Having said that, we also understand that it's our responsibility to fix this problem and to get CTA back to the level that we were providing in a pre-pandemic world. And we will continue to work diligently to accomplish that as we move forward. While we are always excited about the good news regarding hiring, increased ridership, and funding, progress for new capital projects, there are certain issues that will always remain top of mind for our agency, especially the safety and security of our customers and employees. Every day, we work closely with our primary law enforcement partner, the Chicago Police Department, to improve safety and to help implement new security strategies across our system. That is why statistics released earlier this month by CPD demonstrate that crime has decreased system-wide in the month of August. Were so encouraging. CPD announced that overall transit crime was down 12% year to date and 35% for the month of August compared to August of 2022. It also noted that violent crime was down 16% year to date and 13% for the month versus August of 2022. This was very welcome news, and we are very grateful to the officers we work with every day who help to make a difference on our system. But we also know that we must continue to work closely with CPD, invest in new security technology when possible, and strategically together continue to find ways to be effective in addressing the safety concerns of our customers and our employees. From our contracted security guards and K-9 units to our extensive network of more than 33,000 security cameras, and of course our vigilant frontline employees, we will continue seeking to help to keep our customers as safe as possible and to deter any crime on or near CTA properties. Before I close, there are a few other items that I want to update you on relative to the work that I've been doing over the past month. First and probably foremost is my involvement with CMAP on their park report, which the board got a briefing on at the last board meeting, and which is now moving forward for final approval by CMAP and the policy committee. I attended a meeting just a week ago, where we had the opportunity to express our thoughts about the report and to give our understanding of how we're going to move forward. During that meeting, I made a number of comments that I want to share with the board today. My first comment has to do with the funding problem. And one of the points that I made was that from the very beginning in 1983, when the funding formula was put in place to fund CTA, Metro, and PACE, we have never had a formula that worked the way it was supposed to. And what do I mean by that? The funding formula was set up to create geographic boundaries between the funds that CTA received versus the funds that Metro and PACE were to receive. Those geographic boundaries are somewhat aligned with the service areas that we provide service in. In addition to that, the formula was supposed to provide a discretionary pot of money that could be used to fund and support various regional initiatives that were being deemed important and that needed additional financial support to be implemented. The reality, however, is that 98% of that discretionary money had to be given to CTA because the formula that was set up never covered CTA's annual operating costs. That is a problem that has existed for the last 40 years. And so the formula that was supposed to create an excess of funding to allow the type of innovation and collaboration and cooperation that many of the stakeholders have suggested has not occurred, didn't occur as a result of a governance problem. It occurred as a result of a funding problem. If I don't have the funds to do certain things, if I have to worry about how I'm going to balance my budget, particularly with a 50% recovery ratio for the entire region, then it is very hard for me to engage in other activities that are not core to providing the day-to-day service that CTA has to provide on a daily basis. What it surprises me is that we're providing as much service as we are in spite of that. What we do know is that when we have additional money, the opportunity to collaborate and cooperate increases exponentially. And you had no better example of that than the items that you voted on in your board meeting today. And that is but one of many examples of what we have done over the course of the past year as we continue to find ways to not only grow our ridership, but to make it easier for our customers to use the system. Initiatives that, quite honestly, would not have even been possible 3 years ago. The lesson to be learned from this is that adequate funding is the key to addressing the service challenges of our region going forward. That governance, in my opinion, is a red herring used to hide the fact that the funding has never in fact been available to support this agency or my sister agencies the way it should have. Which is why the one part of the report that I am most pleased with is the recommendation to increase the level of funding to a level that would obviously allow us to do this going forward. I say all this to let you know that I'm continuing to work with CMAP and CMAP staff. I will be a part of the discussions on the approval of that report in the next at the next CMAP board meeting next month. And obviously, as we head down to Springfield for the real conversation about what's going to happen with funding, this will be a significant part of my agenda moving forward. At the end of the day, if we don't fix the funding problem for this region, we are not going to be able to fix all the other issues that people want. And if we want to have the type of world-class transit system that I've been advocating for, that you've heard me speak to, we need the funding to support that. The other thing that I wanted to mention to you was the listening session that I had with the Federal Transit Administration and the U.S. Department of Transportation. The listening session was with the AA and NHPI community groups, which is Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islanders. It was a listening session that was sponsored by the U.S. Department of Transportation, but that was held and hosted by CTF. Also in attendance at that listening session were Director Jha and Director Lee, who participated in the conversation. I can tell you that it was not only a welcome and informative conversation between our customers and our stakeholders, but an opportunity to hear from a particular portion of our community that doesn't necessarily get the same attention as it always should. I can tell you that it is my intention to take advantage of what FTA and DOT did and find other ways for us to engage, not just that community group, but other community groups going forward to engage in a thoughtful and appropriate conversation with the customers that we serve, to hear what their concerns are, to hear what they are happy about, hear where we can continue to improve the services that we're providing to them. In addition to that, over the course of the past couple of weeks, I've had meetings both with the FTA administrator and with the FHWA administrator promoting the project for the I-290 corridor and Blue Line rehabilitation work. This is a series of meetings that we've had with IDOT and other stakeholders here in the city to ultimately advocate for the federal funding that we need that would allow us to not only improve that corridor from a road perspective, but also that corridor from the transit perspective. As you know, the Forest Park branch of the Blue Line is the last branch in the entire system to undergo any sort of significant renovation. And while we are doing a portion of that with the work that we're doing on the Blue Line right now, we still have the remainder of the branch to basically improve and update, to eliminate slow zones and to improve the quality of the stations and the accessibility of the stations along that line. I'm very optimistic that with the collaboration of all the partners in this conversation to the Department of Transportation, we will have a very competitive proposal that will ultimately, hopefully, provide us with additional federal funding to support that portion of our work. In addition to that, I was recently in Washington, D.C. to both lobby for full funding of the federal appropriations bill to support CTA as well as the rest of the industry, but also to take a tour of WMATA's control center to understand how they are taking advantage of the latest technology and organizational adjustments to improve and make their control center much more effective. As you know, CTA is in the process right now of designing and building a control center for our organization. And I think there's a lot of opportunities for us to learn from other transit systems as they implement similar new buildings and operations that we can then bring back to CTA and incorporate into the work that we're doing. I'm looking forward to staff engaging with WMATA to get their ideas and ultimately incorporate those ideas and best practices into what we will build here in Chicago. Finally, I wanted to make you aware of some ongoing conversations that I'm having with regards to the bus manufacturing industry. As you know, there's been a lot of discussion about Proterra, who is our bus manufacturer, and the fact that they are facing some financial difficulties. Over the course of the past week, I have personally met with every one of the bus manufacturers in this industry to talk about what is going on in this industry and how not only can CTA help stabilize this industry, but the entire transit industry as a whole. And my role as chair of ACTA can support them and ensure that we're not going to face a situation where we don't have any bus manufacturers to meet our ongoing bus needs, particularly as we work to convert to a zero emission bus fleet. I'm pleased to say that we had a very good conversation. I'm pleased to say that we had a very good conversation. I think there's a lot of opportunity for us to move forward. I plan to be talking with the Federal Transit Administration in the next few days, as well as the White House, to talk about what we can do to basically make sure that we'll have a robust bus manufacturing industry going forward that can meet not only CTA's needs, but the needs of all the transit agencies as we continue to replace and update our bus fleet to the expectations of our customers. With that, I want to thank you for the opportunity to talk to all of you today to provide you with some highlights of what has gone on both at CTA and with me as president over the past month. I'm now happy to entertain any questions that the board may have about any of the items that I discussed or any other matters that they wish to bring up tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, President Carter, for your report. I'm very excited about the developments of the RLE. I attended the announcement of the FTA grant, and it was great to see the support and collaboration of elected officials at every level of government and representatives from the community as well. That unified presence not only demonstrates the significant impact of this project, but the collective recognition that this long-awaited promise is finally becoming a reality. I want to commend you and your team for your advocacy for this project, which was key in CTA's award this historic grant. Recognizing and celebrating our achievements does not discount those areas we still need to improve. We can and will acknowledge both. We know there's work that still remains to be done, and we will continue to do that as a board to make sure that we monitor things to see the progress that we continue to make. But as a result of some of the implementations over the past year, we're seeing significant progress, as you've noted in your report. The numbers are moving in the right direction, and that should encourage us to continue that positive trend. It should also motivate us to keep working at the areas we're struggling so we can deliver progress to our riders, the progress that they both expect and deserve. With that, I want to thank you again for your report, and I will leave it open to any other board members that may have comments in response to President Carter's report.
Okay. Time for questions. Director Jha.
No question. Thank you. It was a great report as always. I also want to say that the listening session that we had was incredibly impactful. Just being able to hear directly from the experiences, and I know a lot of the things that we work on doesn't get out to the public or doesn't get highlighted often. But I think as a board member to the CTA, I feel incredibly proud to sit here. Just having the RLE project approved, thank you. It means a lot to the community, and we've heard some of that today. So thank you.
Director Ortiz.
Yeah, I just want to second the sentiments of being able to secure the funds is no easy task. Secure that level of funds, it's an incredible task. So congratulations to you, the award-winning team, as you mentioned, for that. Congratulations, it's exciting. As many have mentioned today, it's been a long time sort of in the pipeline and in the works. So really excited to make that happen.
Director Jakes.
No questions. No questions, but thank you.
Director Miller.
Just want to say thank you to President Carter and for the hard work of you and your team, and under these certainly some office situations that we're going through now in the country as a whole. But to see that you're there making headway and your leadership, I just want to say thank you.
Chairman Barclay, there are no further questions.
Thank you. Our next order of business is executive session. It's my understanding, Kent, there's an executive session today.
Yes,
Chairman Barclay,
Oh,
perhaps we might want to do the minutes.
sorry about that. Our next order of business is approval of the minutes of the regular board meeting of August 29th, 2023. May I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
It's been moved by Director Miller, seconded by Director Ortiz, that we approve the regular board meeting minutes from August 29th, 2023. We'll take a roll call vote. Director Jha.
Yes.
Director Ortiz. Yes. Director Jakes.
Yes.
Chairman Barclay.
Yes.
Director Miller.
Yes.
The motion to approve the minutes passes.
Our next order of business is executive session. It's my understanding, Kent, there's an executive session today.
Yes, Chairman, the board will move into executive session under our Open Meetings Act, section 2C, subsections 1, 11, and 21.
I will now entertain a motion to recess into executive sessions, reasons stated by council.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved by Director Miller and seconded by Director Ortiz. Director Miller.
Yes.
Chairman Barclay.
Yes.
Director Jakes.
Yes.
Director Ortiz.
Yes.
Director Jha. Motion to move into executive session passes.
We'll now entertain a motion to return to open session.
So move.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded by Director Miller and seconded by Director Ortiz that we return to open session. We'll take the roll call vote. Director Ja,
Yes.
Director Ortiz,
Yes.
Director Jakes,
We'll now entertain
Chairman
a motion.
Barclay,
Yes.
Director Miller.
Yes.
The motion passes.
We will now address board agenda item 5A.
Thank you, Chairman. In item 5A, the board reviewed the closed meeting minutes from August 29th, 2023.
Thank you, Kent. May I have a motion to approve the closed session minutes for August 29th, 2023?
So move.
Second.
It's been moved by Director Miller, seconded by Director Ortiz that we approve the closed session minutes from August 29th, 2023. We'll take the roll call vote. Director Ja,
Yes.
Director Ortiz.
Yes.
Director Jakes.
Yes.
Chairman Barclay.
Yes.
Director Miller.
Yes.
The motion passes.
We will now address board agenda item 5B. Kent?
Thank you, Chairman. With respect to item 5B and item 5C, we are deferring those matters to a future board meeting. And we can move on to board agenda item 5D.
We will now address board agenda item 5D.
In item 5D, Chairman, in closed session, the board discussed the lawsuit of Nodelman versus Myers and CTA, which is pending in the Circuit Court of Cook County. The litigation involves an incident that occurred on August the 23rd, 2018, in which a bus struck Mr. Nodelman. Parties have negotiated a tentative settlement subject to board approval in the amount of $2,500,000.
Thank you, Kent. May I have a motion to approve a settlement in the case of Carly Noodleman versus Myers and Chicago Transit Authority in the amount of $2,500,000?
So move.
Second.
It's been moved by Director Miller and seconded by Director Ortiz to approve the recommended settlement amount in the case of Carly Noodleman versus Myers. We'll take the roll call vote. Director Ja,
Yes.
Director Ortiz.
Yes.
Director Jakes.
Yes.
Chairman Barclay.
Yes.
Director Miller.
Yes.
The motion to approve the settlement recommendation passes.
The next order of business is board matters. Georgia, do we have any board matters?
Chairman Barclay, we do not have any board matters for today.
Our next order of business is a report from the Committee on Finance, Audit, and Budget, which will be presented by Director Jakes.
Mr. Chairman, the committee met earlier this morning and approved the August 29th, 2023 committee minutes and reviewed the finance report. The committee reviewed 6 ordinances. Review of an ordinance authorizing a co-promotional agreement with Pace Suburban Bus. Review of an ordinance authorizing an amendment to the intergovernmental agreement with the Regional Transportation Authority for venture cards for RTA's special fare programs. Review of an ordinance authorizing an intergovernmental agreement with Pace for free rides for riders affected by the Forest Park Branch Rebuild Project. Review of an ordinance authorizing payment of relocation expenses arising from the acquisitions of property located at 35th West 115th Street, Chicago for the Red Line Extension Project. Review of an ordinance authorizing an intergovernmental agreement with the City of Chicago for the acquisition of various parcels of property for the Red Line Extension Project. Review of an ordinance authorizing an amendment to the contract with Empower Retirement LLC, for third-party administration for the authority's 401k and 457 plans. Committee also reviewed 6 contracts. Committee placed the 6 ordinances and 6 of the contracts on the omnibus. Committee approved and recommended for board approval 6 ordinances and the 6 contracts. And for our interpreters, I'm sorry for going so fast. And that concludes the report of the Finance, Audit, and Budget Committee.
Thank you, Director Jakes. I will now entertain a motion to approve the omnibus.
So move.
Second.
It's been moved by Director Miller and seconded by Director Ortiz that the Ortiz.
Yes.
Director Jakes.
Yes.
Chairman Barclay.
Yes.
Director Miller.
Yes.
The vote to approve the omnibus passes.
Our next order of business is the construction report from Bill Mooney, our Chief Infrastructure Officer, and Juan Pablo Prieto, our Director of Diversity Program.
Morning, Bill Mooney, your Chief Infrastructure Officer again. I'm joined by.
Morning, Juan Pablo Prieto, Director of Diversity Programs.
We'll be providing your monthly update on the construction program. We'll start where we normally do, our CDOT Lake David Station. Most of the activities since we last talked are focused on, we're out of the ground, we're building now, right? So all the focus is really on development of the station house, the major bridge tower that connects across, as you've seen kind of coming up out of the ground, as well as the other side where we connect on the north side of the structure. I think we can move some photos on that. So here you see the main station house. You can see they're starting to form and pour out those interior walls for the station that will be defining the space more. You can see the main stairs going up there, and you can see that major tower in the background. Flip to the next slide. The other side, they're building the tower connection point. So this is on the north side of the structure at Lake. So that main tower that we've been showing you over the last few months, we'll have the bridge that connects to this side of the street, and you'll see that in the upcoming months as it continues to build out, and then they will connect the platforms from there. Next photo. Our next project is our non-rev vehicles. Over the last few months, we've been showing you interior work. Really, the focus is on completing the inside of this facility. We've moved some photos here. And here, focus last month or so is really on what we call the slab on grade pour. So this is, we've built our foundations, we've connected all our drainage underneath. This is the concrete that ultimately all the work surfaces are on and everything from there. We've poured about 3/4 of the building at this point. The only remaining area to pour that foundation grade pour is really the roadway they're using to bring equipment in and out of the facility. And that will be the last piece of poured while they maintain that access point. And we can go to the next photo. It gives you a little more of that bird's eye view on the interior sides of this building. And you can see kind of all the way on the far portions of the photo, all that slab that's been poured, those pits for inspection of those vehicles that are made in there, and then that main roadway in the middle. Next slide. This is our Canal Ferry Damon substation project. Very active period of time. We've got a lot of activity on all 3 sites right now. Really at Damon, the focus has been we're up out of the ground. We've got all our foundations in. We've been pouring both the roof and the multi-floor decks there. Ferry, we've been doing all the sub foundation work, all the duct bank work, and Haymarket, we're installing new equipment. So we can see a couple photos of this activities. Here's a nice bird eye view of Damon substation. One of the unique features of this substation, you'll actually be able to see into the substation from the platform at Damon on the blue line. It actually has a glass top to it. From that platform, you'll be able to look down into the equipment. It's kind of a neat architectural feature. It'll be one of the first times we ever have that in a substation. You can see in this photo both the roof and that second story. And we poured that new concrete finish there last month. And so you can see some of that. Next slide. Here we are at Haymarket. So I showed you some of the courtyard rebuilding a few months ago. We started installing equipment. We're installing what we call lineup number 2, which includes a rectifier, which converts the power from AC to DC, as well as a transformer that takes that power from ComEd and changes the voltage before we convert it. So here you see them installing that transformer and flying it into that courtyard. Next slide. Here we are at Barry. So we've got all the caissons in, we've got the grade beams around the property in, and now they're starting to build those internal duct banks. So all the cables that go kind of down to the sub layers of this is a multi-layer substation. It also has a glass top to it. It has a really pretty terracotta border around it that will glow very lightly like a lamp at night. And it's in the middle of this neighborhood. It's a really unique architectural feature of the substation that you'll see as we get further along with the building. But here's all the substructure work and all the connection points for the traction power cables as they come up through from the tracks below, as well as all the equipment above. And next project, please. So our Forest Park branch rebuild. There's a lot of activity since we last reported to the board on this project. So we entered our major line cut that will be coming to completion on October 8th as we come out of this. We've also changed phases from both phase A to phase B. So we began the phase work at the end of July for that first portion. And flip some of the photos, we can start. And we've been focused on building functional tracks. So here you can see the completed track work as part of that phase A work. So on August 24th, we changed phases back into what was the extended line cut all the way out to Illinois Medical District. We've shortened that line cut now up to Halstead to Illinois Medical District. And so now you're seeing the completion of that phase A work, which was completed within 30 days. And it was really successful. It was a really great track to have there. It's very functional. Moving forward, a couple photos. And since then, here's another stage A completion photo. We can flip forward again. And then we continue to build tracks. So here you see kind of the phases of the effort. Within kind of the first 12 hours of the line cut, a lot of people commented about the fact that all the track was missing. So we wasted no time. It was very active. It's a 24/7 operation. Here you can see the track, the old track gone. We've been cut. This is near Illinois Medical District. So this will be the service area. From there, we bury in drainage and new traction powered duct banks, new signal duct banks. We flip forward another photo. Here is close to Morgan Middle. So you often hear us talk about short turning trains to facilitate service. Morgan Middle is just west of Halstead, and we use it as a key point to be able to turn trains on the blue line. It's being completely renovated as part of this project. It's probably one of the most key pieces of infrastructure actually on the blue line. Really big portion to build. The track actually goes all the way across wall to wall. It's 3 different tracks there with this big middle track. Next slide. Here you can see some more that works. Now here you can see where all those little orange cones are. They're digging duct bank in. So they had to actually dig down into that mud, be able then to start pouring in the concrete. And then we start building up from that point. Next slide. Here's the opposite end. So this is towards Racine Station. We also have fully demolished the Racine Station House entrance at this point. So as part of this is phase 2 portion of this work, we are building the sub infrastructure for the Racine Station ASAP project. So they are putting in all the new foundations for the new station house. And so the station house itself was demolished, and they're in the process of building that platform extension that goes to that new station house. Then the second contractor will take over, and you'll start seeing reporting on that separate project to actually put the elevator in and renovate that station fully. Next slide. And here you can see some of those caissons I talked about, but that sub foundation over at Racine is very similar you see on other projects where we drill deep down into the bedrock to be able to set the foundations for these pieces of infrastructure. Next slide. And onto our Refresh and Renew program, we continue moving forward. We can flip forward a couple and we get some of the photos of the highlights. So we've done a lot of activity really around the March and 35th on the Orange Line and Indiana on the Green Line over the last month. So here's some of the glamour shots from the Merchandise Mart. You can see the upgraded clean painting surfaces, new lighting. You flip forward. Here's before after the platform. I always find these to be the most stark contrasting photos about how much brighter it is once you've got a clean surface there, as well as then that upgraded LED lighting. Next slide. As part of 35th and Archer and many of the station projects we take on, we actually replace all the signage. So you can see on the left of the view here, the faded kind of signage that allows customers to find their wayfinding throughout the station. This is actually in the bus terminal outside the station, and it's been all upgraded to new clean signage, really makes that path of find much more important. Next slide. This is Sheridan. So Sheridan, last month we reported on a little bit, but we also did kind of a final piece. So the doors, we replaced the historical doors of these old wooden doors that really didn't close anymore. They were from the 1890s. And we actually salvaged the storefronts out of the RPM stations before they were demoed. So we had actually put in storefronts at Bryn Mawr right before we had gone into the project to replace some doors. So we were able to salvage those and repurpose them here to actually upgrade the station use there at a real value of savings. They're really nice. I know they're stores, but they are a really nice feature to the station. So next slide. Here's some the walk up at Indiana. So we always talk about kind of that curb appeal and that sense of security outside the station, lighting up that footprint in the area directly around it. So our customers that are commuting at night have that ability to get there safely. So here you can see some of that before, after that footprint, and how much brighter it is now. Next slide. Here's again that kind of glamour shot at platform level and the big impact that lighting and those clean painted surfaces do there. Next slide. And here's some of the kind of more infrastructure repairs we do here. So here's at 54th and Cermak. We've done some major concrete replacement that was cracked, corroded outside the station. This is an area that you see a lot of salt damage to concrete as we salt the fronts of stations. So not an uncommon defect. So next slide. And here's some more of that before after kind of lighting and painting appearances you get. We actually had the opportunity to actually tour the station with Cook County Commissioner, who was very interested in the improvements we did there. We were able to walk through it and talk a little bit with some of the other local electeds there, some representatives from the village of Cicero about the work and investment in that area. Next slide. On to RPM. So since we last talked, or you want to flip forward a couple slides. Next one, please. Go through the photos. We transitioned to stage B on the Lawrence Bryn Mawr stretch. So over the last 18 months or so, we've been showing you the construction of the new segmental box bridge out there. On July 28th, we actually ran our first ceremonial train through a ribbon out there celebrating the opening of those tracks. So we are now running on brand new track there on both what we call tracks 3 and 4, they typically are the northbound red and purple tracks. We're using one for northbound and one for southbound, and we're working through new temporary stations at Argyle and Bryn Mawr. And we now are in the process of demolishing all the remaining embankment that we've been running on for the last 2 years. This was a pretty monumental moment in the project, a huge milestone. It was really exciting. President Carter was there for the event, as well as some of the local electives, and it was very hot, but it was a really, really exciting moment in time. It was the first time since 1993 we actually ran a train through a ribbon, which kind of was a fun portion of the event as well. Next slide. And here you can see the next big phase change. So in the upcoming months, we'll be actually making a change at the other end of this project in the red purple bypass area as we prepare what we will be running on the new structure there. In November, we'll be making kind of a cutover into that new structure as we demolish the last of the historical structure between Belmont and Addison. As I've been showing you a lot of the rebuild that's going on there, and you can see some of that work in progress. Next slide. And then since we've started running on that new track, you can see the picture of that segmental box there that's housing our train service right now. We've been demolishing the embankment. You can almost see multiple blocks ahead of you now. It's wide open. Seeing the difference, that decision to remove the embankment. Here you see all the earth moving, and they're using a big cutting wheel to demolish that gravity wall that has held up that embankment for over 100 years. Next slide. And here is viaduct demo. So as you saw in phase A, where we demolished part of the viaducts on the existing structure, here's the last of the viaducts. So this is up near Ardmore. We come in with street closures for either a weekend or on overnight. So we'll actually clear out and demolish the entire viaduct structure that carried the trains across streets for many years. And now we've made those points of access on those streets about an extra 8 feet taller and significantly wider than they've ever been. So big impact for access in that community. Next slide. And here you can see some of that embankment. It's a ton of dirt that's being moved out and dug out. They built haul roads as they build to kind of dig out all the way around and then take the walls down. Next slide. And we've been very active in the community as we started this phase change. We did a lot of preparatory work, prepping the community on that, as well as we did a series of community meetings on station identifiers up in the LBMM corridor. So we brought in an artistic artist, and it was an interactive community meeting where community members talked a little bit about what those stations mean to the community and how they identify those stations and tie them to the community. The artist started making renderings of concepts. Each one of the stations, the board has awarded public art contracts for commissioned public art. We'll also have these station identifier spots. So this artist will actually be developing a very unique piece for the station that ties it to the community that it serves. And so we had, anywhere between 40 and 60 people join these meetings, throwing out their ideas about how they see the station and its relationship to the community. And really, what are the defining features of the community? And the artist will be coming up with a unique identifier that will be attached to the exterior of the station. For those of you who are familiar with Garfield, we have some cut metal there that talks about the neighborhood that we serve there. On the green line, will be very similar to that, but really ties it. These are community stations, and really is part of that partnership. And with that, I'll turn over to Juan Pablo.
Thanks, Bill. Since we last met, we held our Q3 workforce outreach event on August 8th. And that was at, so we held that community meeting where we had not just the RPM contractors and staff talk about opportunities there, but they talked about opportunities on other infrastructure projects that we have going on, and of course, red line extension to get folks excited and ready for that. We had our workforce partners there to help connect individuals with resources so that they can pursue a career in construction. As was mentioned earlier during the public comment phase, we'll be having another outreach event for workforce on October 10th. This one will be at Gately Park, which is in the RLE footprint. Again, we'll be bringing staff from the RPM project, our core infrastructure team, and the RLE team to talk about current opportunities and upcoming opportunities through CTA. We'll have all of our workforce partners present so that individuals can get those resources. And then we'll have representatives from the building trades so that individuals can understand how to get into the building trades, what the processes are. We'll have some of the building trades which have openings in October for their apprentice programs there, so that individuals can get information on how to apply to those apprentice programs. Our DBE and workforce numbers as of August 31st, we've awarded over $243 million to DBEs. That's 96 unique DBEs, 40 of which had never done business with CTA before RPM. Again, we're really proud of those numbers and continue as Walsh Floor awards the last packages here on RPM to push on the DBE side and make sure that we're maximizing every opportunity. On the workforce side, over 1.3 million labor hours have been worked by over 1,900 individuals, and they've earned over $80.9 million. So those are real great middle-class wages that we're helping individuals from economically disadvantaged areas find those opportunities. We're connecting them with the workforce partners so that when the contractor has hiring needs, they're connecting them with those opportunities. And now we're going to show you the next installment in our monthly video series, in which we highlight the RPM project's ambitious workforce and DBE goals. Today, you'll hear from the founder of a DBE certified business, Smelly Fresh. The owner's name is Stephen James, and he's a subcontractor on RPM.
Hi, my name is Steve A. James, and the name of my company is Smelly Fresh LLC. I started Smelly Fresh LLC because back in 2014, I was working in corporate, and at the time my father became ill. I was traveling so much, and I was trying to get them to not have me travel as much so I could be more attentive to him. And so when that didn't transpire, I ended up leaving corporate and started working. I started living at home and moved back home to me with my dad. And I was trying to think what I wanted to do as far as transitioning out of the law field into something totally different. And I remember going to one of my friend's restaurants, and his bathroom was dirty. And I just mentioned to him at the time, I said, you know, the bathroom is filthy. I said, you know, you need to get somebody to clean it. He said, he just fired his cleaning crew. I said, I'll clean it. He laughed and joked, said, yeah, suit, medicure, yeah. So I was like, I really would do it. Came in that Wednesday, I started cleaning it for him. He looked down, he said, you know what, no problem, here's a pen and paper. He said, write up the contract, you're hired. And literally that's how Smelly Fresh started. My business has benefited from the RPM project simply because my experience of working with them has really given me opportunities to go to other big businesses. So when I present my client contact list, and then they see Walsh Floor CTA on there, they're like, oh. I said, that's your client? I'm like, yeah, that's my top client. And it really has also helped me to help others who haven't really got to that plateau yet, to help them get along too as well. So the RPM project has contributed to my future business goals in the aspect that I want to become a global name, a global brand. I want to expand from Chicago, Illinois to across the United States. I'm thinking I've already started the process of starting going to Nevada because I have family there and also family in Texas. And so I want Smelly Fresh LLC to be globally known in the janitorial business. And the RPM program has catapulted me into that being in doing so. You know, in closing, I would like to thank CTA, Walsh Floor, for giving me this opportunity. It was something that I did not see coming. And it has really helped me to really become a beacon of light in my community. It has helped me to show others that they can succeed. And I don't think if it hadn't been for Walsh Floor CTA RPM program, that I would have been able to do this. And so for that, I thank them immensely.
Pablo and I are happy to take any questions at this time.
Questions? Don't have any.
Director Shaw?
No questions.
Director Ortiz?
Thank you for your great work.
Director Jakes?
How did this gentleman get introduced to Walsh Floor and RPM?
Through our outreach programs. So he came to an early RPM outreach program where he was asking about janitorial opportunities. We told him, you know, connect with the contractors. At that point, it was still 3 contractors that were competing for the opportunity. And he started building a relationship with Walsh Floor. So when they ended up winning the contract, they brought him on to clean the project office.
Do you have a each one reach one approach where he is successful, obviously, that he then goes and reaches out and helps bring someone else along?
But we regularly encourage our DBEs to reach back and help, just like they got the assistance. What we do is also welcome them back to our small business educational series, where we have firms that may have never done business with CTA. They're trying to learn how. And we have DBEs that have been successful come and talk to them about how they got their first opportunity, any bumps along the road that they'd want other small businesses to avoid. So the businesses that are in the cohort are learning from businesses that have competed for, have won, and have grown from CTA work.
And my last question, Juan Pablo, is how aggressive will you and your team be to make sure that minority-owned contractors have what I'd like to see, a huge stake in the RLE project?
So you've seen the numbers, the success that we've had on RPM. We want to replicate that, if not do better, on RLE. We're bringing the same aggressive approach to outreach. We've already done a number of roadshows on RLE where we brought the 3 shortlisted firms or the teams to different assist agencies to meet with the membership and start building those relationships. We've held our own outreach. I know the teams are holding their own outreach. We've made the commitment, just like we did on RPM, once we award RLE, to bring the selected team back around and do the same type of roadshow where we introduce the project again. But at that point, we turn it over to the selected team and say, you need to tell them how they're going to compete for these opportunities, what resources you're going to provide for DBEs, again, to not just bid and win a job, but to be successful on the program and then grow from it and start competing for more work. How to enter into mentor protege agreements with them like we did on RPM so that we can expand the capacity, expand the capability. As the board knows, we piloted the Building Small Businesses program through RPM. It's now a full program with CTA. We celebrated 1 year in July of that program. So we're helping firms access this capital that they need to be able to compete. So I think we're creating a stronger subcontracting pool that the RLE team, whoever wins that contract, is going to be able to tap into and help them grow even more.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Director Jakes, it's also probably worth noting the construction management contract that you just approved. One of the members of that team is a DBE. I forget the name of the company, but it's
Infrastructure Engineering.
Infrastructure Engineering. It's owned by Michael Sutton. Michael is well known to me and a lot of the other people here at CTA. He's been doing engineering work for on transportation project for a number of years. But Michael is also a former resident of Oakdale Gardens.
Mm-hmm.
And so this project, the opportunity to be on this project is not only emblematic of something personal to him, and I think also emblematic of commitment that we're seeing that's already starting to play itself out even before we award the construction contract with our construction management contract, and that they understood from the very beginning that this was, 1, an equity project, and 2, that we expect the benefits of this project to have an equitable component to it. And the joint venture that got put together for this certainly was taking advantage of Michael Sutton's expertise and knowledge, and not just bringing him in as a DBE sub, making him a full partner in the joint venture. And I suspect you will hear from Michael at some point in time in the future, but we're setting a tone on RLE from the very beginning. And that tone got started long before these contracts were being awarded by the conversations that I had with the board and the direction the board gave to me about what the expectations were around the project in the community. And we're going to live up to those expectations as this project moves forward. You're seeing the first taste of it today. But as we bring the rest of the contracts to this board, as you start to hear the numbers around DBE participation and workforce development that will start to generate as this project moves forward, you're going to see another really good story of how we're not only impacting the transportation options for these communities, but also the lives of the people in these communities with the work that we can offer them going forward.
And President Carter, I'm glad you said that for the record. You know, Bill shared that with me yesterday, but I think that people need to hear it. So that way it is public information that CTA and his governing board are not just, saying, oh, well, just build the red line extension and let it go south and we'll celebrate that. That there's been some conversations for years about being intentional about making sure that minority-owned business get their fair share, and especially with Michael Simmons having come out of Oakdale Gardens. So hopefully, as I said to Bill yesterday, or the day before yesterday, when our briefing, that will get put out. Because we've been talking about, we've got to share our story and stop letting other people create our narrative. And so that narrative needs to be shared. So thank you for saying it.
You're welcome, and we will get that narrative out. You'll hear more about that.
Good. Thank you.
I know you have an event in October, but can you send that to the board members so we can get that out to our public network as well?
Definitely. We'll have a DBE event in October 5th, and then we have our workforce event October 10th. So two different, we'll get you both flyers.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Any further questions from any other board members?
Thank you.
Thank you. And Bill, the blue line is coming along.
It's sir. There's nothing more I love than a good track job, and it's exciting to see. I go out there I have there's nothing better than functional track. So, we walk it. I have a group that goes out every Wednesday morning. We're out there at the crack, and it's pretty dark now. Early in the summer, it wasn't as big an issue. We walk it. It's exciting to see the progress week by week. It moves. Minutes are weeks, weeks are months, months are years at this point on this job. It moves so fast. And so it's really exciting, and I'm happy to see it open in a few weeks.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Our final order of business is new business. Georgette?
There is no new business, Chairman Barclay.
Any further comments from any board members?
What'd you get for lunch?
I do.
We have one comment.
Yes. I want to acknowledge that we are on Hispanic Heritage Month.
Yes.
So I just really want to take the time to thank all of our employees for bringing your professional and your lived experiences for everyone. I also want to thank our partners. I think Juan Pablo mentioned a lot of our partnerships are in place. And so I want to thank our partners, partner agencies as well, and their employees. And then also really want to thank our writers and our users of our CTA, particularly for just being part of this larger family. So congratulations. I just want to celebrate all of our diversity and just acknowledge and celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month. So thank you.
Thank you, Director Ortiz. Since there's no further business to come before the board, may I have a motion to adjourn the Chicago Transit Board meeting of September 22nd, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the board meeting for September 22nd, 2023 be adjourned. We'll take a roll call vote. Director Dodd? Yes. Director Ortiz? Yes. Director Jake?
Yes.
Chairman Barclay?
Yes.
Director Miller?
Yes.
We're
Chairman
adjourned.
Barclay, the motion passed.
We're adjourned.
All right.